cannabis sector. Find out all that we do at businessofcannabis.com. Coming up on this BFC Live, we connect with Dana Baranovsky of CannDelta, the official regulatory advisory of Business of Cannabis. She wanted to come on to talk about functional ingredients in edibles in the Canadian cannabis landscape. Enjoy this conversation with Dana Baranovsky. Dana, thank you for being here bright and early on a Tuesday morning.
Thanks for having me.
I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm glad it's what we're going to be talking about. I am a careful watcher / consumer of edibles on the market in everywhere, but specifically everywhere I can buy them in Ontario. And it seems to me, and you're going to tell me if I'm wrong, they're getting to be more interesting.
Yes, I think so. I've been keeping an eye out on them as well. And one really cool thing that I've been seeing is a lot more unique ingredients, which is really awesome because edibles really have the opportunity to use so many different ingredients, and that's what makes them really unique products in the cannabis market. When we're talking about like dried, there's not much you can do in terms of ingredients. Same with extracts, you're only limited to flavoring agents as well as cannabis extract and stability ingredients, whereas edibles, it's like an open field.
Well, I like that. And I'm going to bring an example from, I don't know, maybe 3, 4 or 5 months ago that got a lot of conversation on Twitter. That was, and I don't want to out the company, but I think it was like Dynathrive has a apple cider vinegar flavor. And people are like, ooh, apple cider vinegar. And then people who know what they're talking about, like, no, that is like, is the right word, like a functional ingredient?
Yes, exactly. So I actually have a background in human health and nutritional sciences. So I did my bachelor's as well as my master's degree in that. So this is my forte for sure. And when I saw that, I thought that was really, really interesting. And I know that, having worked in that space prior to coming to cannabis, like there are consumers that are aware of these ingredients. And I really like that product because first of all, it's got this unique ingredient. So if you look at the ingredients, it actually says apple cider vinegar in it, and it comes in a cool format. So it's a gummy, but it comes in a 30 pack and it's CBD based. So already it's kind of trending in this direction of being kind of more of a wellness product than maybe a recreational product. And I always have to preface this, functional ingredients, they're essentially ingredients that have some sort of bioactive component that has an associated health benefits. We're not talking about health claims here. Those are not permitted. But these ingredients can be used in kind of a unique way and positioned in a way where consumers might associate it with wellness. So it's really cool.
It is cool. And I'm not like, it's not the traditional like strawberry, cherry, blueberry, like, and I love those. I'm not saying that's bad, but like, what I want to hear from you is like, how could a company, I guess, incorporate, like what's allowed, what's permitted, what kind of ingredients like are you finding interesting based on your background? Like maybe people should be thinking about putting into their edibles.
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to like highlight this opportunity too, because um, the edibles market is still growing right now. And if you look at a more mature market, and we kind of touched on this before, is that the market share of edibles is actually quite bigger in, let's say, Washington. This is something that I looked at the other day, but they're at like 13% of the market share is edibles. Right now we're at like 6, right? So there's like so much opportunity here. And right now, if you look at the market, it's like you said, a lot of gummies, like various flavors. Like, how do you choose between like 4 different gummies that are all pineapple flavor and they have all the same ingredients? It's kind of tough. So what's really cool, kind of playing on this apple cider vinegar product, there's another one by Bliss. I'm not sure if you saw it, but it actually uses acai puree as well as blackberry puree in the gummies. So it's still a gummy product, but it's actually really unique when you look at it side by side for other products. And that's going to add some flavor to it. And it also just has kind of that functional ingredient in as well, because acai is considered a superfood. But when you're really looking at ingredients, there's so many functional ingredients out there, and it's not always easy to understand which ones are permitted and which ones aren't.
Right.
So if you looked at a list, for example, and you wanted to say you're looking at vitamin C, probiotics, electrolytes, um, those are kind of tricky ingredients because vitamin C you can't add because it's a vitamin. Um, Probiotics you would not really be able to add because it's not a food, right? It comes in like a powder, a capsule, it's not in a food form. And electrolytes are vitamins, or sorry, they're minerals. So you would not be able to add them. So one really cool way to get around this is look at the food sources of those ingredients. So for example, if you wanted to make an electrolyte drink, maybe for, post-workout, add some anti-inflammatory CBD in there, you can use coconut water. So that's kind of how we see some of these companies going around these restrictions and putting together a really cool functional product.
It makes really good sense, and it's not the whole foodsization of cannabis, but the idea that in many consumers' minds, and the right consumers who these people are targeting, these things, even though acai is difficult to pronounce, it means something to some subset of people,
Yeah.
and to those people it means a lot. Just like apple cider vinegar, just like coconut water, like all those things. And like, do you have a list of what is like allowed and not allowed, or is it like this broad category of food is allowed? You just can't say that it is an electrolyte, or like, is that sort of how it works?
Yeah, so this is actually what our clients come to us with all the time. Is like they have, they've been brainstorming about things that they would want to add into their edible products. And they get a list of these ingredients, and then it's hard to differentiate what's allowed and what's not. So generally, we talked about those two products. Um, how you would know it's allowed is that, first of all, they didn't make any health claims. So none of their marketing says that there's any sort of health benefit to the product, and then that the ingredient's actually a food product. So apple cider vinegar, that's something, it's like people use that in dressing, so it's really easy to understand that that's a food ingredient. And same with acai berries, right? Like you can pop those back and like you're good to go. And so that's generally how I take a look at it, is like, is this something that can be consumed as food? Does it have a traditional use as food? So like melatonin, you can't, for example. It's something that is in foods, a component of food, but when you go to like the supplement aisle, it comes in like a tincture or a tablet. So that's really how you can differentiate these things. And of course, like if you wanted to, be more adventurous, you could. And that's why we have the NNCP process, the new product notification. It's kind of an opportunity for you to put something forward that you're not entirely sure about and see if Health Canada has any questions. And it's a little bit riskier, but it's really an opportunity for you to take some risk and potentially have a really unique product out there.
It's like the version of like throwing spaghetti against the wall. It's just an
It's
edible
like,
that you send to Health Canada. Like, actually, how does that process work? Can you describe like if I was a company and I had an edible and I didn't know if it was not even compliant, but like what Health Canada was going to see? Do I send them a, like, what do I do?
yeah, so there's the NNCP process, so the new product notification. Essentially, it's really well laid out. There's a guidance document that Health Canada has put together, and essentially you're trying to explain this product to Health Canada. So you would have the brand name, you would have the entire ingredients list, you would have to put the entire product label together, explain how much THC, how much CBD is going to be in the product, any unique characteristics, and you you have to submit this 30 days before you take a product to market. So it's not actually an approval process by any means. A lot of the times companies don't hear back from Health Canada at all, but there's also an opportunity feedback. And we've seen that before, especially around flavors right now, and vapes.
Ah, I believe
Yes.
that. Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. And like in your crystal ball or your wish list, like when you're thinking about this, because you see it from like a regulatory compliance part, but you also come from the background you come from. Like, what would you be producing right now if you were a? I don't want you to give it all away, but like if you were think like that you would love a company to sort of think up that's
Yeah.
compliant, that takes into account functional ingredients, but drawn from sort of food products that are totally compliant. Like, what are you thinking about?
Yeah, so in terms of like a functional ingredient, I love the idea of coconut water. When I was like doing some research, I was sipping on this coconut water that was like watermelon flavored and it was fizzy, and I was like, this would be awesome if it was infused. So if anyone is listening to this right
All
now,
Dana.
yeah, I